Pilatus said, "You are a perverse race, over-concerned with unworldly things and ensnaring yourselves in your own net of goodness. You cannot even agree on the dates of your own festivals or the nature of your Elohim. Instead of heroes, you have saints, yet your saintliness makes you unsaintly. You all agree to seek the truth, but dispute which path to follow, and so get nowhere. You agree to follow your Elohim, but some say, 'We go this way,' and others say, 'We go another.' What you say today about this man, you said yesterday about another. Your laws are a maze, which I will not attempt to negotiate. Your thoughts are devious, and your heart's an unreadable scroll. I am unfortunate in my governorship." Now, a man named Barabbas had also been brought forth to be judged, and Pilatus continued, "I know not one man from the other who is reverent and who is of Belial. I cannot tell. You yourselves do not know which of these two men has said and done these things, on which is your sovereign. All I know is that there must be a strife. The rights of Caesar must be upheld, and justice must be done. The rest I leave in your hands. No two men can suffer for the same crime unless they be in association, but if no association is proven, only one may suffer. Therefore, decide among yourselves which man is to die. Both claim to be the Ben of Elohim, both are deliverers, both have blasphemed against Caesar, and your Elohim, and both have struck against Caesar. One has killed, the other has not. Clemency is mine to give at this time, but clemency overruling justice is weakness. If both these men be killed, then surely the whole of the people will rise in revolt. Already the streets are thronged, and much wine is being drunk. But if one is released, those rejoicing will restrain those who sorrow. It will also divide the people who otherwise might act in accord. If one is truly the Ben of Elohim, then the Father will not desert his Ben, so it would not be wrong to condemn him, for thus too will be saved. Responsibility for restraining bloodshed now lies with you. And already the people outside are in riotous mood. Therefore, choose between the two men. Both have the same name, but one is called Barabbas, and the other Barabbas. Choose which shall be condemned for these crimes and which shall be released, then announce it to the people. Pilatus said, "I will condemn the one claiming to be sovereign of the Yehudim, for this is a crime against the peace of Caesar. You tell me which he is." So all the elders of the Yehudim went out and consulted among themselves and sent heralds among the people. Yeshua remained calm and unshaken, though he had been 3 hours in the judgment chamber. When consulting among themselves, one of the elders said, "One dies and one is saved. Let us be sure we save the one who will deliver us." A Parashim said, "It is not for us to choose which of these is Hamashiach of Elohim, for both are equally deluded. Neither should we choose according to their goodness or their teachings, or even by what they have done. This is a time of turmoil. Therefore, what is the life of one man against the lives of thousands? For surely this number will die if there is a revolt, which will appease the people by his release, and which will cause less strife if he dies. May the Most High Elohim help us to choose wisely, and may he show compassion on the one who must die. Whichever dies is the savior of many, and so who are we to condemn him otherwise? Let the other be the bearer of our sins, and we will cast him out from among us. Then some Lewites went and addressed the people thronging about, and they shouted, "Crucify the sovereign, save the deliverer." But all were not in accord, and there were many disputes. Then the elders went back to Pilatus and said, "Release Barabbas." Now, when Yehuda saw what had happened, he was exceedingly troubled, for he had hoped neither Yeshua nor the other would suffer more than confinement over the festival period. He was therefore filled with remorse. He sought to return the silver to the Hakel treasurers, throwing it before them, saying, "I have betrayed the innocent." They said, "It means nothing to us. Be it on your head, not ours." When they told the Kohen Hagadol about the matter, he said, "This money is tainted and cannot be put into the Hakel coffers." So they used the money to buy a plot in the clay field used by potters, and it was used for the burial of strangers having no kindred. Then, after putting his house in order, Yehuda hanged himself from a ledge. Pilatus ordered that Yeshua be scourged after the custom of Rome. and delivered him to the army for crucifixion. And it was then about the 6th hour. The soldiers took him to a small court where, by custom, men gathered who took pleasure in tormenting the condemned. They danced before him, spitting and mocking. A victor's crown was plaited from thorn bush, and he was beaten with burning weeds. Placing a soldier's scarlet mantle about his shoulders, they bowed before him in mock homage, saying, "Hail, you great sovereign of the Yehudim." Others covered his eyes and struck him, saying, "Now, sorcerer, tell us who hit you then." He was pricked with reeds, and the mockers made sport with him in many ways. When the cruelty was over, the soldiers stripped off the scarlet mantle and replaced his tunic, taking him away to the place of execution. Because of the scourging and other sufferings, Yeshua was unable to bear the stake he carried. And a man named Shimon, the Queen, a stranger from Africa, just come by way of Joppa, was forced by the soldiers to carry it. A crowd followed, among which were many lamenting and wailing women. Yeshua turned to them and said, "Daughters of Yerushalayim, do not be sorrowful because of me, for I approach the door of a greater high. Weep instead for yourselves and your children, for the day comes when you will have much greater cause for sorrow." If these things are done while the tree is green and full of life, what would they not do if it were old and dry? Coming to the place of execution, which was where the skull of Adam lay buried, the soldiers fastened Yeshua to the stake and raised it up into its slot. Then his feet were fastened to the rest. After this, they divided his clothes among them, but the mantle, being woven without a seam, was given to one selected by lot. About his neck was hung a plaque, written in Latin, which read, "Yehoshua bar Haaretz, sovereign of the Yehudim." The Yehudim protested to Pilatus about this, but he said, "This is written by my authority." 2 others were crucified with Yeshua, one on his right and one on his left. People passing along the road mocked and abused him, shouting, "Come down and rule over your reign." Some said, "Where is your all-powerful Father now? And, if you are what you claim to be, get yourself out of this." Many laughed, saying, "He came to save us, but cannot save himself." "Savior, save yourself first." The witnesses who stood about the stake also mocked him. They said, "O deliverer, now deliver yourself." At the 9th hour, the sky darkened with cloud, and there was thunder and lightning. Thus, the Nebuah was fulfilled, which said, "In the valley of decision, on the day of the deliverer, the sun and the earth will be darkened." Then Yeshua began to speak the words of Doeg and later said, "My Elohim, do not let your power drain away from me." Some standing nearby said, "Listen, he is calling on Eliyahu." Another said, "Let us see if Eliyahu will come and take him." A man came with a sponge soaked in vinegar and dew and raised it to the lips of Yeshua, but he turned his head away. Then some said, "He is ready to give up the Ruah." Yeshua opened his eyes and said to those who stood near, "It is nearly over." Menelaus, the centurion, who stood facing Yeshua, said, "Truly this is a man." Then someone shouted, "It is over," and there was an outbreak of wailing from the women. A number of women stood off watching from a distance, among them being Miriam of Magdala, also called Miriam of Bethania, Miriam, and Miriam the mother of Jacob the younger and Joseph, and Salome, who had followed Yeshua, administering to his needs in Galilee. There were also others who had come to Yerushalayim with him, but the only Talmud there was Jacob. When the women wept with pity, he said to them, "I see now what I was blind to before. Let us not waste tears in futile pity, but strengthen our hearts so his sacrifice is not in vain. He did this to change the hearts of the people. Let us be worthy of him." Then Jacob left, for he received word that the Talmudim were being sought, it being feared they would set fire to the great Heikel, or arouse the people, so there was a revolt. There had been disturbances in the city, but because of Barabbas, only 3 were killed. Miriam, the mother of Yeshua, was taken to the house of Yohanan, and Marcos, and Joseph also came there. It was in that house that the first words of this Bizarro were written. Many of the Talmudim had deserted Yeshua and were in hiding. Others went about not knowing what to do, their hearts full of misery and sorrow. They lacked the influence needed to save Yeshua from the common pit of criminals. And Miriam, his mother, did not claim the body. though the arrangements made were unknown to her. Now, one of the elders of the Supreme Council was a man named Yoshias, called Joseph of Ramathaim, son of Joachim, son of Nathan, son of Elazar, son of Eliahu, son of Yachin, son of Zadok, who lived on the Merchants Road, a day's journey from Yerushalayim. He also owned an estate northwest of the city. He had a brother-in-law named Nicodemus, and both were secret followers of Yeshua. Joseph of Ramathaim, the wise commander, had been present at the council when it sat in judgment on Yeshua, and he supported him, but many more who could have done so were absent because of the hour. When evening drew near and Yeshua had been 4 hours on the stake, Joseph of Ramathaim, being a man of status and authority, went to Pontius Pilatus, without fear, for they were friends. He requested the body of Yeshua, his kinsman, saying, "It is written in our law, that the son shall not be permitted to set on the body of a murdered man." The governor said, "You are an upright man, and I will not deny this to you." But he was surprised to hear Yeshua had died so quickly, and he sent for the centurion in charge of the execution, a man known to Joseph, who assured Pilatus that Yeshua was undoubtedly dead. On hearing this, Pilatus granted the commander custody of the body, and though some Yehudim present objected, wishing Yeshua to be buried in the criminal's pit, they had to submit to Roman law. Yet the Yehudim's law also stated it was the duty of the nearest relative to dispose of the body, irrespective of how death occurred. Now, this being the Shabbat eve, the bodies could not remain upon their stakes after nightfall. Therefore, the Yehudim requested of Pilatus that the legs of the condemned men be broken, allowing the bodies to hang free, so they quickly died. So, the soldiers took mallets and broke the legs of the other two, but when they came to Yeshua, the centurion said, "He is already dead." Joseph the commander took his son Joseph, Nicodemus and one other and, having already purchased a linen shroud, went to the place of execution and removed Yeshua from the stake. Wrapping him in the sheet, they carried Yeshua through the darkness to a tomb already cut out of the rock. It was a 2-chambered cavern, northwest of the city, having a ledge running around the inside, and the entrance faced eastward, towards the place of execution. It was the north end of a garden planted with cabbages, and the gardener was also custodian of the tomb. When Yahweh had been placed inside, a great stone was rolled across the entrance, and 2 men were left on guard beside it. Now, things happened on the Shabbat which may not be written, for they are in the secret of Yahweh, known only to the elect of the house of Elohim, which is in the Isle of Departure. Those who guarded the tomb, when questioned regarding these things, said, "The Talmidim came early and carried him away for burial in a proper manner at another place, for he was laid here only because of the Shabbat, and it was not his tomb." None questioned them further, for this was proper. And the guards were only placed to protect certain bodies from those who would work evil sorceries on them, those who improperly tampered with bodies being put to death. After the Shabbat was over, some women came with spices and oils to deal with the body of Yeshua. But when they came to the tomb, they found that the great stone had been rolled aside. The guards were gone, but a young man was seated just inside the entrance, and he said to them, "Do not be afraid of me, for I am a friend. Yeshua, whom you seek, is not here. But go and tell Kepha that he will be with him as promised." The women were very much afraid and left in haste. When they had gone, Miriam came with another and stood outside the tomb weeping. And as she did so, a voice behind her said, "Why do you weep?" Turning, she saw the gardener and said to him, "They have taken Yeshua away, and I have no knowledge of what has happened to him." Then the gardener told her to go to Yohanan, the son of Hanan. Kepha and 2 others were also making their way to the tomb when they met the women coming away. The women told them what they had seen and heard. And Kepha, thinking they were talking wildly through sorrow, sent one of his companions to go with them. Then he hastened to the tomb, arriving to find it empty and no one there. So, being perplexed, he sat down outside while the other went in search of the gardener. While seated he saw a shining figure in the gloom within the tomb and knew it for a messenger. And he heard a voice saying, "Yeshua has fulfilled the promises and is truly Hamashiach, Yahweh's anointed." Then the other returned with the gardener, who told Kepha to go and meet Yohanan, the son of Hanan, at Imraz, about 9 miles distant. And they went to that place, which was a village not far from the house of Yosef of Ramathaim. Arriving there, they found Yoasid-Eliezer, the son of Hanan, and another Yohanan, and Joachib and Yosef, the sons of Yosef by Anna, his first wife, the fair stranger, his son by Miriam, and Marcos, his adopted son. Nicodius was also there with Eleazar, and they were all in the house of Hosius. Later, a number of emissaries came. Then, while they were seated at a table, Yeshua came among them and said, "Let us take food together and rejoice, for the Nebuth have been fulfilled regarding Hamashiach, as it is said in the Kodesh books. The servant of man is arisen from among those who sleep, for death has not claimed him." But these things, while fulfilling the promises, will not bring about the rule of Elohim, for this will not come while men sit waiting for signs. The people have been given that which fulfills their hopes and aspirations. Now surely, they will believe in my cause and arise to sweep evil aside. Now the Ruach of truth dwells among you, though it is still out of place in a world under the rule of man. Then Yeshua told of all the things which had been written in the Kodesh books concerning these things, and how Hamashiach, Yahweh's anointed, would be disowned by men, would suffer for their willfulness and arise from among the dead to appear on the third day. Then he said, "Are not all these things fulfilled in me?" Then he departed. Some days later, all the Talmidim who were the chosen of Yeshua met in a secret place. And Yeshua joined them and proved himself to those who still disbelieved. And they said, "Adonai, forgive our disbelief and forgive us for doubting the things you taught concerning yourself." Yeshua said, "This is the day of the coming of Yahweh, who will rule the earth. Yet is it not written, this will be a day of darkness, and not of light?" Then Yeshua spoke these words, "I go to a place far away beyond the world, where you may not follow, for I fulfill the hopes of all men. Now, you go out, carrying the message that the Nebuth have been fulfilled and the time is at hand when the rule of Elohim should be established among men. For the promises having been fulfilled for the people, surely, they will now believe and rally to the cause of good, sweeping wickedness and evil from the face of the earth. Say to them, that has been done that had to be done. Now you must take up the burden, for if you would become children of Yahweh and reclaim your lost heritage, you must prove yourselves worthy heirs. Let not all the suffering be in vain." Then he told them secret things concerning the rule of Elohim, and how men should be freed from trouble, distress and pain. He explained how each man could be freed of all sickness and see beyond the range of the eye. These and many other things were explained, and also many things concerning the dominion of the Ruach. He said, "Follow my teachings, and the power of the Ruach HaKodesh will come to you, enabling you to do many great things, causing wonder among others. Yet all these are the rightful possessions of men, if they will but establish their worthiness. Think not that Yahweh will descend from the Shemaim to do the work of men. The world is yours, but High is with Elohim. In the end, there is the accounting. Man must be responsible for his own destiny, so seek no divine intervention while men remain apathetic. Yahweh comes to the aid only of those who strive, who surmount the difficulties and obstacles of life." Having said these things, Yeshua revealed himself to them in his form of glory, so they might know truth had been established in him. Then they were all bedazzled, and astonished, at what man could become and the extent of his powers awaiting development. Then they knew Yeshua was all he claimed to be and hailed him as Mashiach, the anointed by Yahweh, for in him the Ruach of Mashiach was manifested as in no other. After this, Yeshua left. Now, rumors of strange events came to the ears of certain Yehudim who were Herodians and Sadducees. Then they were exceedingly angry with those in power who had inclined towards Yosef, the wise commander. He said to those who raised their voices against him, "Why do you seek to stir up trouble?" Those in high places, holding positions of power, did only what they thought best and complied with the Torah. What else could they do? "I received the body of my kinsman because this was my duty, and I dealt with it decently, letting it rest in my private tomb over the Shabbat." Despite his authority, there was evidence against Yosef, and he was imprisoned, being kept under constant guard. One Shabbat, during the night hours, The Ruah of Yeshua was projected to Yosef, so he was comforted. But the guards, seeing it, fainted with fear. Then Yosef was brought before Pontius Pilatus, but the governor found no fault in him, and he was released. Later, Hanan and his son-in-law, who were then the Kohen Hagadol of the Yehudim, came to the house of Yosef, bringing with them the Kodesh books, written on scrolls within their box. They requested that he swear upon it in the sacred name of Elohim, but he made oath only that he had done no wrong or broken no law. The wise commander remained in his house for many days, after which he went about undisturbed. Then, when Pontius Pilatus returned to Rome, Yosef departed from his home shores, coming to Setnadoin, from whence he moved to a well at the foot of a hill. He brought with him a clay cup which had been set in silver by a silversmith, and this was that cup used by Yeshua. Some say Yosef of Ramathaim married Miriam, mother of Yeshua, after the death of his wife, but this is a known heresy put about by those in ignorance of what is written, for his wife was not that Miriam. The Sumerian, Bel, the Christ of ancient times. Page 54. The Canaanites, before they could think of mastering the whole of Babylonia, had first of all to fight, subdue their enemies. Marduk, being their god, becomes thus the god who subdues his enemies. And as he subdued them once, so he always is and will continue to subdue them for all eternity. Marduk subdued Babylonia, conquered his enemies who lived there before him. With this subjugation the new life, the new forms and governments of Babylonia were made possible. For these conquering Canaanites, Babylonia became the world, and Marduk their god. Just as Marduk conquered the enemies of Babylonia, so he also must have conquered the old enemy of the world, the Tiamat, or chaos. Just as with the subjugation of his Babylonian enemies the new life and development of Babylonia were made possible, so also was with his conquering Tiamat the life and development of the world. Marduk means according to his name Amayud, son of the sun, and is, therefore, a god of light. Hence if he be the light, then his enemy can be only the darkness. Marduk's fight becomes thus a fight of the light against the darkness. After having overcome the darkness, the creation of the world is possible. But Marduk is not a light because it illuminates, but because it warms, gives life. Hence his enemy, the darkness, must be the winter. The fight of Marduk and Tiamat thus repeats itself yearly. It is the fight of the rays of the sun. In the spring against the cold, the rays of the sun gain in this fight the victory. The cold, the darkness is overcome, a new order of things is now initiated. The earth is forced to give up her dead. New life sprouts. The resurrection takes place. Again a change of names takes place here, but only of names. Marduk becomes Christ, Tiamat, the old serpent, the dragon, and Zarpanitum, or Ishtar, who, according to analogy, Christ also ought to marry an idea almost obliterated, but still preserved in allusions to the bride of the Lamb, the personification of the church. Just as Marduk conquered the primeval dragon, Tiamat, typology, the fight of Marduk and Tiamat thus repeats itself yearly. It is the fight of the rays of the sun. In the spring against the cold, the rays of the sun gain in this fight the victory. The cold, the darkness is overcome, a new order of things is now initiated. The earth is forced to give up her dead. New life sprouts. The resurrection takes place. Again a change of names takes place here, but only of names. Marduk becomes Christ, Tiamat, the old serpent, the dragon, and Zarpanitum, or Ishtar. As the Sumerians state, two things. 1. The god, Ishtar, is Venus, the dragon of old. 2. Marduk becomes Christ. Page 55. Created the world, so Christ had to create the world. Just as Marduk rose as the god of light every spring, and married Ishtar, or the earth, and fructified and vivified her, by means of which she begat children or produced new life, so did Christ, because he too is the light. He did rise because he was Marduk. Marduk is the author not only of the first creation but of every new creation. So is Christ. Only in and through Christ men do rise. Marduk, in consequence of his victory over the dragon, was exalted, and received the name of Enlil, the father and god of the gods, the god of heaven and earth, the Bel, or Lord. So Christ was taken up into the heavens and enthroned on the right hand of God, for God highly exalted him, and gave unto him the name which is above every name, that in the name of Jesus, every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things on earth, and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is the Lord. Our Easter festival is the old spring festival, celebrating the resurrection of nature, made possible by the victory of the spring over the winter. Nature does indeed rise, man is a part of nature, Christ is man, therefore Christ did rise. And the risen Christ is the bell, the Lord,